12 to 15 feet tall, drifting silently over the Atlantic. No wings, no exhaust, no sound at all. For 6 years, this footage sat buried in a military archive, until the United States government decided the public was finally ready to see it. They called it the floating brain. A billion people searched for the truth behind this video, and the answer the government gave back was one word: unresolved. Not confirmed, not denied, just unresolved. So what exactly did the US military capture over open water in 2020? And why did it take until now for anyone to see it? In February of 2026, the United States government did something it had never done before. It mandated the release of its own darkest, most contested archive of aerial anomalies, under a program called Pursue. 4 tranches of documents followed: thousands of sensor logs, intelligence debriefs, and one video that would dominate headlines around the world. This is not just a story about one strange shape drifting over the ocean. It's a story that touches a nuclear weapons plant in Texas, a whistleblower testifying before Congress, and a forensic AI analysis that tore through nearly 1 million words of government text. Tonight, we go through the evidence, piece by piece. No lore, no hallucination, just the documents themselves. To understand 2026, you have to go back to 1949. At Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory, Dr. Edward Teller and other Manhattan Project physicists gathered to discuss something that unnerved them: green fireballs, moving horizontally, silently, near one of the most secure facilities on Earth. It was the first documented pattern connecting unexplained aerial phenomena to America's nuclear infrastructure. It would not be the last. Decades later, the geography would matter again. The Pantex plant, tucked outside Amarillo, Texas, is one of the most sensitive nuclear weapons assembly facilities in the country. And far to the east, over the open Atlantic, a different kind of encounter was waiting to happen. 2 locations, 2 incidents, one pattern nobody could fully explain. 6 people sit at the center of this case. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, the executive steward overseeing the rollout of Pursuit. John Kozlowski, Director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the man whose team decides what gets labeled solved and what stays unresolved. Dr. Avi Loeb, a Harvard theoretical physicist leading the Civilian Scientific Advisory Council, the Galileo Project. Michael Schellenberger, the investigative journalist who broke open a whistleblower report that would shake the whole disclosure narrative. And Representative Nancy Mace, who took that same whistleblower report and read it into the Congressional record. And then there's Nick Sangillo, not a general, not a scientist, just a citizen who filed a Freedom of Information Act request demanding unredacted footage of the Pantex incursion. His fight with the Department of Energy would end up defining exactly how far the government is willing to go and where it draws the line. August 29, 2015. Over 1,100 workers walk off the job at Pantex, locked in a contract dispute with the plant's private operator, Consolidated Nuclear Security. Essential staff, the people who maintain security alarms and emergency systems, are suddenly gone. The facility is left dangerously understaffed. 3 days later, something entered the airspace. At 7:10 hours, the Pantex ground surveillance radar locks onto something it cannot classify. A diamond-shaped object, roughly 4 feet tall, 2 feet wide at the base, gliding at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Security police officers scramble a Bearcat vehicle, tracking the object on camera as it drifts silently over the facility. No engine sound, no visible propulsion. It exits the property line and vanishes into county jurisdiction. Rewind slightly to 1996. Astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia captured 3 images of an object in low Earth orbit, nicknamed almost comically the floating pizza piece. It rotates slowly along its axis, consistent with something simply tumbling through zero gravity. It's a strange footnote, but it proves these anomalies weren't staying on the ground. 2019. A veteran military aviator, nearly 3 decades in the Air Force and Navy, files a debrief after an encounter off the eastern seaboard. His words are simple and unsettling. Flight characteristics unlike anything he'd seen in his entire career. Then 2020. A USNORTHCOM platform sweeping the Atlantic with infrared catches 32 seconds of something drifting on the wind. The operator logs it immediately. A darker, maroonish color 12 to 15 feet tall, resembling a large, somewhat deformed balloon. That single sentence, deformed balloon, would sit quietly in a government file for 6 years. October 9, 2024. Michael Schellenberger breaks a story that changes everything. A whistleblower report describing an unacknowledged program, codenamed Immaculate Constellation. Representative Nancy Mace enters the 11-page document into the Congressional record herself. The allegation that the imagery the public sees is only a fraction of what the military actually holds. By February 2026, the mandate is official. Pursue is born. Release 1 drops in May. Over 1 billion hits worldwide, crashing government servers under the weight of public curiosity. Then Release 3 arrives in June, alongside something unusual: an independent forensic AI analysis of the entire document corpus. And on July 10, 2026, Release 4 goes live, carrying with it the floating brain. Here is the centerpiece, 32 seconds, a mottled, irregular shape with what look like hanging appendages, instantly compared online to a jellyfish or a floating brain. But look closer. There is no visible exhaust, no aerodynamic surfaces, no sudden burst of hypersonic speed. Its entire movement across the frame is consistent, with nothing more than the prevailing wind. And here is the sentence that undercuts the entire mythology. In his own words, the operator who filmed it writes, "Structurally, it appeared as a large, somewhat deformed balloon, but we were unable to verify that as we passed at the merge. Not a UFO, not a biological entity, a balloon. Possibly. The man who saw it with his own eyes wasn't even certain." The Pantex report tells a colder story. A silent, diamond-shaped object, tracked by radar and camera, drifting through a nuclear weapons facility during its most vulnerable week in years. Just 3 days after 1,100 workers walked off the job. Coincidence, or exploitation of a known weakness? The document itself doesn't say. It simply records what happened. The Immaculate Constellation report goes further still. It describes 7 classes of evidence: a cuboid formation of metallic orbs turning white-hot on FLIR, a saucer up to 400 meters wide hiding inside cloud cover, and it names explicitly an irregular, organic, jellyfish and floating brain classification, observed near Department of Defense facilities in Iraq and Afghanistan. If real, it means the public files are only the surface. But then comes the number that changes the entire conversation. In May 2026, Cadence AI ran a forensic language analysis across 116 declassified files, 833,731 words. The result? A 9.6 to 1 imbalance favoring mechanical, craft-based language over biological terminology. And zero, exactly zero, instances of biological recovery vocabulary tied to an actual physical retrieval. No specimens, no autopsies, no tissue, nothing. Theory 1. that this is a genuine biological organism, alien, interdimensional, or otherwise non-human. It's the theory that captured the internet's imagination, built on the video's organic shape and the whistleblower's own mention of irregular, organic classifications. But the case collapses under its own evidence. No biological recovery language exists anywhere in the corpus. And physicist Avi Loeb notes that any organism capable of interstellar travel would leave behind detectable physical signatures, fireball flashes, blast waves, none of which appear here. The object simply drifted with the wind. Theory 2. A prosaic explanation. A weather balloon, research aerostat or mylar cluster, partially deflated, drifting passively on ocean wind currents. This theory has the strongest anchor, the operator's own real-time words. Its size, its color, its total dependence on ambient wind, all match known balloon behavior. The one wrinkle is the thermal signature, which confused the sensor system into rendering something that looked rigid and complex. A known limitation of FLIR imaging against reflective, deflated material. Theory 3. A covert surveillance platform deployed by a rival nation disguised as debris or meteorological equipment. The Pantex intrusion fits this profile almost perfectly. A silent object probing critical infrastructure during a moment of maximum vulnerability. But applied to the Atlantic footage specifically, the theory falters. No propulsion, no control surfaces, no active telemetry. Deploying an asset that simply drifts with the wind is a strange choice for deliberate intelligence gathering. The internet did what the internet always does. Viral clips appeared showing an AI-enhanced version of the footage, suddenly revealing mechanical panels, pulsating veins, intricate biological structure. None of it was real. Digital forensics experts confirmed that generative upscaling tools don't extract hidden data. They hallucinate pixels based on training patterns. Every dramatic detail in those viral clips was manufactured by an algorithm guessing what a monster should look like. Online rumors claim the Pantex incident was a full military engagement, a UFO attack, a power grid shutdown, a firefight with security forces. The official report says otherwise in plain language. The object did not appear threatening in nature, nor did it approach any sensitive assets. What actually happened was a standard procedural lockdown in response to an unauthorized aerial intrusion. Nothing more dramatic than that. And the claim that towers above all the others, that these files prove the government has alien bodies. Across 833,000 words of declassified text, the phrase simply does not exist. Not once. Whatever else these documents contain, they contain no lexical evidence of a biological recovery. As of this recording, the Department of War and its Anomaly Resolution Office still classify both the PR-116 footage and the Pantex intrusion as unresolved. That word does not mean unexplained in a mystical sense. It means, quite simply, that there isn't enough sensor telemetry to reach a definitive, prosaic conclusion. The government is not claiming aliens. It is admitting a gap in its own data. Nick Sangillo's fight is still unresolved too. His appeal for expedited access to the unredacted Pantex footage was formally denied, the government ruling that a decade-old UAP incident does not constitute an imminent threat to life. It's a small, bureaucratic sentence, but it defines exactly how far civilian transparency efforts can currently reach against the machinery of national security law. And then there is the question nobody in this story can currently answer. If Immaculate Constellation is real, a program actively quarantining the military's highest fidelity UAP imagery from Congress itself, then every document we've just walked through, every declassified file in the Pursue portal, may only be the sanitized layer sitting on top of something the public has never seen. Nobody, not Congress, not the journalists, not the physicists, has confirmed what that deeper layer actually contains. So what do we actually know? We know a thermal camera captured something drifting over the Atlantic in 2020, and the man who filmed it thought it might just be a broken balloon. We know a nuclear weapons plant in Texas was breached by something silent during a week it could least afford it. We know an AI analysis found overwhelming mechanical language, and absolutely no evidence of biological recovery. And we know there may be an entire program built to keep the rest hidden from all of us. What we don't know is everything else, and maybe that's the most honest place a story like this can end, not with an answer, just with an open file and a government that for once admitted it doesn't have all the pieces either. Life is weird. Let's talk about it.